Thank you so much, Anita and Devorah and Bruce and Deborah, everybody that joins us tonight. It's really good to be around many old friends. As Anita said, I'm currently the Vice President of the Montgomery County Council. I chair the Transportation and Environment Committee, and I serve on the Public Safety Committee as well. I know many of you, but for those I don't, I've been on the council now for nearly 6 years. I served in the Maryland General Assembly before that for 8 years. I've been working with JUFJ, I hate to say it, but 20 years this year, because when I was running Progressive Maryland, which I started a little over 20 years ago, JUFJ and Progressive Maryland worked very hard together after your founding to pass the Montgomery County Living Wage Law and then the Prince George's Living Wage Law. As you're aware, there's a lot at stake on November 3rd. You're doing a lot to win many different elections. I know many of you up and down the ballot, but I'm really glad to take a little bit of time to talk to you about ballot questions A and B, which will have a tremendous impact on Montgomery County for many years to come. It's important that you all have this information. It's important that you all pass it on to your family and friends, because there's really only a grassroots campaign behind this, and a lot of voters, low information voters, are very drawn in by the anti-tax arguments that Robin Ficker has been making for years. Our county has suffered greatly because of them, and we really need everybody to be part of grassroots campaigns to defeat them. So I'll tell you about questions A and B, but I should start with B. I know it's counterintuitive because A is sort of a reaction to that. As you can see there, question B seeks to amend our county charter in order to prevent the county council from increasing property tax, even with the unanimous support from the council. It's a hard cap. Bruce was just telling us we now are under a revenue cap that was the product of an earlier Robin Ficker charter amendment that says every year the county budget has to be set at the previous year's budget plus the rate of inflation. And these days, as we all know, the rate of inflation is like 1 or 2%. But many things governments have to spend money on don't have anything to do with the CPI. Not only do we have to spend more money for more residents often each year, but but certain things we buy, like healthcare, health insurance, costs a lot more. It goes up much more than 1 or 2% a year. And often food prices and gas and other things the county council has to buy, the county government has to buy, go up quite a bit more than that. So Ficker's amendment, despite how hard it is to work under his current amendment, what he wants to pass as question B is a hard cap that says we can never raise the county budget, even if 9 of 9 council members vote for it. It would, it's the same type of hard cap on revenue that many of you are familiar with, that Prince George's has been operating under for years and has really hamstrung their ability to deliver high quality public service. If you think about, all of us have to live within our means in our household. We all believe that the county should do that as well. None of us like to pay higher taxes, but a kind of key word here is flexibility. If you can think about why would the county need to spend more money one year than another? One is inflation. As I mentioned, certain things go up more quickly than the average consumer price index, which is what we're bound by. So when the cost of electricity goes up or the cost of food, the county has to pay for that or buy less of it. You can imagine if your household were under the same sort of cap, you'd have to, if you couldn't spend more next year than you spent this year, you would be probably buying less electricity and keeping your houses not as warm in the winter. You might be buying less diapers or less milk. The county's in the same bucket, the same situation. Second, there's unexpected emergencies. None of us expected to be dealing with a global pandemic right now. None of us expected to be dealing with a historic recession, worse than any time since the Great Depression, but we are, and we're spending millions of federal dollars and county dollars to support our small businesses and to provide emergency food relief and child care centers, getting them stood up again. All those things are entirely appropriate. They're critical right now. And if Robin Ficker's amendment had passed years ago, we wouldn't be able to do those things. So we have to be able to react to future emergencies and deal with contingencies. And that's why another reason Ficker's amendment just never makes sense. You can go to the next slide, please. So in response to the Ficker amendment, the county council is allowed under our charter to place another proposed charter amendment on the ballot, and we've done that, and that's ballot question A. And that allows us to, it prohibits the county council from adopting a tax rate on real property. This is the actual wording, that exceeds the tax rate approved from the previous year unless all current council members vote affirmatively for the increase. So it keeps that that's conservative safeguard on rapid tax increases. All 9 of us would have to vote for a tax increase in the property tax. However, it removes the revenue cap that Bruce referenced earlier that says we can't spend any more money than we had last year. We believe it will, while nobody is really looking to make it easier to raise taxes and nobody wants to pay higher taxes, we believe by keeping the 9 of 9 requirement, but removing that revenue cap, if that makes sense, that will give us additional flexibility. When commercial property tax assessments go up and our other economic growth fuels the revenue growth in the county's budget, we're actually going to be able to use that now under our revenue cap. Again, remember, we can't use it because we have a very conservative cap of the previous year's revenue plus the rate of inflation. That would go away if we're able to pass ballot question A. Next slide. What's at stake? Ballot question B has the potential to have, would just have a dire impact on our ability to raise revenue and meet the needs of our residents. I think we can defeat it if we all work together. And as I mentioned, talk to all your friends and neighbors. But if we don't, the county will really become, I believe, like unrecognizable. The reasons that people move to Montgomery County for our diversity, for our very, very high quality public services, unfortunately, we haven't been able to meet the need that is out there now with our public services under the current system. It'll get much worse if question B passes, and there will be severe cuts in our libraries, in our schools, in our parks, in our rec centers, in our public safety. All the things that people count on in Montgomery County and pride ourselves on, many of them are going to be severely, severely cut. During a public hearing this week, there was an office representative from the Office of Management and Budget who told the council they estimate the county could lose up to $1 billion in revenue in the next 6 years. That is terrible. We're hoping to do everything to avoid that, obviously. Much of it is outside our control, but that does mean we need the flexibility to be able to raise revenue so we can provide the critical public services like the emergency food relief I mentioned for our residents that need it the most. Second, working families, if you could go back, working families are most they're getting hit the hardest by COVID right now, right? Many of them are our Black and brown residents in particular are on the front lines working as essential workers in our grocery stores and delivering mail and working in retail and many other things. They're exposed to the public every day and putting their health at risk. They're going to need help long after a vaccine is found. And this is a time when the county really needs all the tools in our toolbox to meet their needs. And finally, question A would give us a fairer tax structure. Question B is a very conservative tax policy that would benefit really only the wealthy. If you remember Grover Norquist and how he said he wanted to shrink the government to the size where you could drown it in a bathtub, Robin Ficker is our local version of that. He doesn't believe in government, wants government to just shrink every year because he doesn't need it, but most of the rest of us do. Slide 5, please. So how are we going to defeat it? There's still time to do that. We need you to mobilize and educate your neighbors. We need you to support organized efforts to defeat ballot question B. And we need you to certainly talk to everybody you know. Use your email lists, neighborhood listservs, Nextdoor, everything you can do to get the message out that B would really cripple our county's quality of life. And in conclusion, the question B really, seeks to fundamentally change the county, and it would also put in great danger our county's workers. Many of them would have to be laid off, and the private sector would certainly suffer quite a bit as well. And we'd see continued layoffs in the private sector as well. We are slowly, the economy is getting stronger. This is no time to be, dramatically tying our hands even more and making it impossible to provide the high quality public services that people count on in Montgomery County. So thanks so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.